This week we're going to talk about how to buy a boat. We did a lot of things wrong, a lot of things the wrong way. So we'll kind of talk about what we did and then just the norm process.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we did anything wrong.
We just didn't know the process.
The process doesn't make sense.
No, it's a little backwards.
So let's start with this. When you buy a house, you go out and get pre-approved, so you know what your budget is to buy a house. We're not talking about like a $10,000 or $20,000 boat.
Right.
You know, the price of these boats are more like a car, or excuse me, more like a house than a car.
Okay.
So we assumed it would make more sense to know what's our budget based on the interest rate and all these other. They are so concerned when they loan on a boat. They want to know exactly which boat. They want a survey. I mean, they want a lot of stuff. It's almost more about the boat than it is your creditworthiness.
Right. So, step one for buying a boat is not getting pre-approved.
Yeah.
Step one is shop. So you're gonna, of course, we recommend visiting and getting your body on as many boats possible as you can, so you know exactly what you want and what works for you and your family and your situation.
Yeah.
That's what we did, and we're glad that we did.
That's really, really crucial. You can, excuse me, you can look at pictures all day long and video all day long, but until you walk through the boat, especially if you haven't been on a bunch of boats, like if you've grown up around boats and you've been on a bunch, you already know. But if you haven't, or we've been on boats, but they've been on ski boats, not yachts or sailboats and stuff you could live on.
And even if you do know what you want, the listings a lot of times are false listings. So they are photos taken 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So they're not up to date. A lot of boats that we actually, some of the sailboats we said earlier we went to go look at up in Tampa, although we didn't end up with any of those sailboats in Tampa, some of them, those photos were 4, 5, 6 years ago, and they said it's currently in...
Yeah, one of them looked great in pictures, and then they said, oh, that boat's on the hard. It's been in storage for the last 3 years, basically rotting.
Right.
And so it's like, they're very, very misleading, I would say.
100%.
So take your listings and your stuff you find online definitely with a grain of salt.
Absolutely. So then step 2, find a broker. We recommend a broker locally. Wherever you're buying, find a local broker.
Yeah. People are going to have different opinions on this. It just didn't seem right or weird. It seemed kind of odd for me to buy a boat using a Texas broker in Florida or in North Carolina or something like that.
They'll all tell you, we can help you anywhere with any boat. And they could. However, so for instance, we went through 3 brokers. We told you our first broker kind of dropped us because we weren't in his price range anymore. Our second broker, although he was great in Tampa, he didn't help us shop around anything past sailboats, and we really wanted to...
He wasn't listening as far as we had this big broad thing. He didn't bring us anything else to say, hey, have you thought about this? Would you like to look at that?
Right.
It was basically whatever we found he took us to see.
Right.
So he kind of missed out. There was another one that we talked to North Carolina when we were looking at a boat.
Right.
But it was just because he was in North Carolina.
Right.
And again, after that particular boat we were looking at didn't work out,
he was happy
he never followed up. He just didn't. So it's
but
just because they're a broker doesn't mean they're good. So you got to shop around and find a good one.
I wouldn't even say it matters if you have a good broker or not. Our broker here in the Keys, he was great for being here in the Keys. Mm-hmm. But I'm so glad we used him because he gave us a list and he knew everyone in the Keys.
Yeah.
So he knew the surveyor, the mechanics, the boat yards. They know the local market.
Yeah.
That's what you really want. That's why I say
that is great. So I'm a little different than a lot of people. A lot of folks will want like a real estate agent involved on both sides of transactions and everything. I like to cut out the middleman. if I could go directly to the person and buy the boat, I would have. This particular boat we found, so actually I went to the listing broker and dealt with him directly. So he was representing both parties.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. What was nice was he knew more of what the seller was dealing with, and from my side. So I think for us it helped grease the wheels along and get things going.
Yeah, and get it going a little faster.
He particularly did a good job, I think, playing both sides without giving up too much information on either party.
Right.
But knowing enough of the information to make the deal happen.
Right.
So we got the boat we wanted, I feel like, for the deal we wanted. And I still think it was fair. I know the seller may have felt like, hey, he gave it away a little bit. But with the work that we are doing to it and what needs to get done, if we bought it and made him fix it at his price, but let him do the fixing, he would probably have been out more money than letting me do it.
Yeah.
Since I'm doing a lot of the work myself.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's that. So brokers are helpful.
Yes. So step 3, making an offer. This is where we were saying things are backwards from a house. So you make an offer on a boat before you even know if you have financing or insurance or a marina to stay at or anything, which that's why things fell apart for us in Tampa, because we made offers on boats without getting financing, and financing on boats is much more about the boat than it was us. We were very frustrated that we couldn't get quick financing, having great credit, lots of cash on hand, everything, and the boats were too old, or it needed a survey before they'd look at offers, and it was a mess.
Here was my favorite reason we got denied for a loan. You've never had a boat loan in this amount before. So therefore they turned me down because I haven't done this before, which
I'm like, but
to me
look at
doesn't
my
make
credit.
sense. Yeah.
We've had so many other loans. Anyway,
Yeah.
so making an offer, you do that before you have financing. So that's why everything turned around for us in Tampa, and we ended up scratching the whole financing option. So for us, we ended up just paying cash. So it kind of cut out.
Yeah.
That step.
The other thing is when you finance, which we'll get into insurance in a minute here, but when you finance, they're going to require you to have insurance, and so now you've got to find financing and insurance, and everything's got to be lined up in order for the closing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And as we'll explain in a minute here, depending on the boat,
And
insurance,
location.
Insurance can be a problem.
So
Here's what we're finding out with our insurance.
well, don't get too far ahead. So step 3, we're still making an offer. So once you make an offer, then you go back and forth, you get this nice accepted offer. Then step 4 is get a survey. So it's financing and insurance, and then survey, which
you can kind of start the process on financing. You can submit your
yeah.
credit app. You've got the written offer that they want.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times for financing, they do want to see that survey before
Mm-hmm.
they actually close.
And then the survey is very much like in a home. It's going to be like your home inspection. So you kind of have this in buying a house, you have this 10 days to get a home inspection done. And if something drastic you see, you can either ask the sellers of the home to fix it, or you can walk away. Same thing in boating world. So from the survey, we did find things that were not expected on the boat, and so we went back and we renegotiated. You can, and then negotiating is just a negotiating thing. You can ask for less, ask for repairs, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So every situation is different. But that's what happened with us in survey, and technically we could have walked away. So there's still that option too. After you still made the offer, then you have a survey. There's still a lot more room until after the survey. Then it's like signed off and done.
Yeah, and then after the survey is kind of like a closing.
So yeah, step 5, closing.
So closing is, I was expecting it to be more like a house where I went to the documentation company, signed paperwork and everything.
Take an hour to buy a house.
Yeah.
Take an hour to buy a boat. It's not like that.
It was interesting because it was like an email, and all of a sudden one day the broker goes, "Okay, you can send the wire."
Okay.
I got an email with a title thing that explained we had a good title, but I still personally haven't gotten any paperwork. Have we seen any paperwork?
Oh yeah, I have. I have it all filed away. Sorry,
she
I do all that
She just
stuff.
hides it from me.
So but what the email consisted of was the seller has to provide a lot of information, and then it's actually a lot done from the Coast Guard perspective. So the Coast Guard will research the title, make sure the title's clear, the title's good, and then send the buyers of that to review, and that's closing, and then you wire the money, and that's it.
We have a third party, kind of like a title company when you're closing on a house. They're called a documentation company. And so they do the research on the title, just like closing company does on the deed on a house, to make sure that it's clear and no liens. So we got that back, and that's done through the Coast Guard, just like Julian said. And then it's like you do it, and they can basically send you the paperwork, and we can go register it and do our own thing, like you would a car. We're actually having the documentation company take care of all that paperwork for us. We paid a few $100s extra to have them do that, since we're new at this. And I believe they're even going to document it with the Coast Guard.
So they'll register it with the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard does not want you to register it with them and a state. So she's filing 2 separate files. So she's registering it with the Coast Guard on its own. And then we are registering it in Florida, because there's a lot of laws as far as if you don't register your boat with a certain state, you get to save your money on taxes, which is great. But then you have to leave after a certain amount of time. And in Florida, you get 90 days. And you can make an extension for
with a
another
broker, you can get another
90.
90. So you could get up to 6 months max.
So we could have stayed for 6 months in Florida waters, but then you have to leave for a certain amount of time before you can come back.
I think it's 90 days.
And
something like that.
We
may not be ready to push off yet.
I mean, every day, every week, our whole plan kind of changes. We never know what's happening. So we ended up, and we got such a good deal on this boat. The taxes were pennies. So we ended up just saying, just register it with Florida and just be done with that. So that was step 5 on closing. And now we own a boat. So we're just waiting for the title to come in the mail.
If you had gotten a loan on your boat, you would have had to have insurance at the time of closing, just like buying a house, because the lien holder is going to require that. We didn't. We're in this weird conundrum where we're like uninsurable right now.
Yeah.
It's been kind of frustrating. There's 3 things against us.
Yeah, our insurance agent's working really hard, but she said we have like the trifecta of nobody wants to insure us right now. We're in the Florida Keys.
Yeah, South Florida at the wrong time of year.
In August and September.
Yeah.
And after Irma, they said nobody wants to insure the Florida Keys, pretty much. So it's the wrong time of year and wrong location. And then we've never had a vessel over 45 feet, which is kind of their cutoff. We've had 2 under 45, and ours is 47. So it just put us above that, like. So
basically, they don't consider any of my experience or knowledge valid. So, like, you have 0 experience as far as they're concerned.
Right.
Had we bought a 44-foot boat, we would have been fine.
Problem.
So
had we been in Tampa? No. I mean, so many things are just.
And then we've got age and condition.
And then we have age, condition, and no survey. We did hire a surveyor. He has not completed his survey because what he essentially said was, you're buying it as is, and as is, it's in such bad condition, the survey is going to look horrible. So he gave us essentially the survey of like just a list of things to fix, which we're fixing.
Yeah.
And then once it's fixed, he'll come back out and finish the survey. So we will get a survey before it hits the water, but for now...
It's kind of interesting. If you do the survey and it's not a great looking survey, like it notates a lot of... They kind of categorize things. These are A issues, meaning safety issues and... Sinkable issues. Like I'm doing all the hoses and the sea caulks and through holes that need to be replaced. That's a big deal, because if one of those pops, the boat sinks. So we're addressing all those issues in the next week or 2. And then they've got like B and C, which aren't a big deal. But had we had all those on the survey, most insurance companies, he said, would have looked at it and said, I ain't touching this boat.
Yeah. So
what we've done is he's given me a punch list. We're getting the work done. And in like a week and a half to 2 weeks from now, once we're done, he'll come out, reassess the vessel. He doesn't have to do a full inspection because he's already done it. He's basically looking at the stuff that we've upgraded and fixed and repaired. And then he'll write us a survey after repairs, and we should have an easier time getting insurance once that's done. So right now we own a vessel with no insurance. But the nice thing is it's on the hard, shouldn't sink while it's on the ground. We're thinking.
It is September, or August, September, so, you know.
We'll see. We're rolling the dice.
We'll see. We're totally rolling the dice right now.
This whole move has been kind of roll the dice.
Every day.
And put it in God's hands and saying, okay, let's see what happens. Yeah, it's interesting. That's where we're at right now. So that's the process we went through.
Yes, so that's the buying the boat process. And then we also wanted to update you on what we've been doing since we left Tampa. So we left Tampa 3-4 weeks ago. We knew we came down here to buy our boat. And then while we were here, we're like, we got nothing else to do. So I have still been working with VIP Kid. I teach children English online. So I work in the evenings and then early mornings, all online. So I can make still like a full-time income while staying at home with the kids.
That's worked out really well.
It's worked out super well. It's interesting though, teaching in hotels and condos.
You have students that are regulars, and they're like, "Where are you today?"
Where are you today? I'm like, I'm in a new hotel today. And then Chris, about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was about 3 weeks ago. As we were in the process of still buying the house, we were doing this big buying the boat, back and forth process with the sellers, trying to decide: are you going to fix it? Are you going to discount? Let me fix it. It took 2 weeks. I was sitting around literally doing nothing. I was like, I've got to do something. So I went and got a job. So I don't know if you can see my shirt or not. I work for Sundance Water Sports.
Sundance Water Sports in Isla Morada, Florida. If you'd like to come visit, he does parasails and snorkels. He's really good at it too. It's really fun. I
got this job. I wanted to get a job in
an
excursion water sports type thing, because when I was in Tampa, I got dive certified and I got all the way up to a rescue diver, and I'm in process. Yep.
I went snorkeling.
I need about 30 more dives, and I would actually be a dive master, and then I could actually take people diving on scuba diving for money. So I'm one step below that. I'm still going to work on finishing that before we shove off into the Caribbean. But I also want to get my captain's license, and this allows me every day that I'm at work, I can knock a day off towards experience. And I'm working on we've got a 31-foot parasail boat, and we've got a 65-foot catamaran that we do snorkeling on. And so both of those add towards experience and hours on different vessels towards the captain's license, as well as.
And let's just be real, it's really fun.
Yeah.
Like he gets to. Compared to the business he had owned prior, where everybody who came to him was already mad and upset
because their car was broken.
Now everyone who comes to visit him is on vacation, wanting to go have a good time.
So we were talking about this morning. I work with a gentleman named Will, who's the captain for the parasail, and the first couple that we put up today, they get this look on their face as soon as we let the winch out and they start going up, and they just instant joy. And he goes, that's what we do. We do nothing but give people joy every day. And I was like, that's good.
Yeah, like
that's neat.
Thanks for watching and sticking around. Next week we're going to show you some of the boat projects while we fix up the yacht, and I'm going to show you what the boys are doing for school.
Make sure and subscribe if you haven't already. That helps us out a bunch. Please leave a comment down below. If you have any questions, we'll do our best to answer those. Make sure and give us a like. And thanks again for watching.
What you doing, Tiger?